Andrew, what's your take on this, Andrew? Because it's very interesting, Andrew. You did well in the young voting streams. You took Malaysia by surprise. People didn't expect the young voters were actually going to vote in big numbers for Perikatan Nasional in the last elections. So what happened actually?
Okay, thank you, Malaysia Guineas, Stanley, for hosting this wonderful time. Okay, basically for me, I have a little bit of different perspective because we are not talking about the young voters of talking about Malays, and also Chinese when they are playing everything. But for the young voters, there's a little bit slight difference from the older generation was where their minds is already stuck when they are BNs, they are Pakatan Harapans, they are Pakatan Harapans. But why do the young voters change in major shift in this PRU 15 is because of when they have a government for 22 months. They see the young voters right now doesn't want to know what is the problem beside it. Who made the mistakes, how the mistake was done, who get corruptions and everything. They doesn't want to know that. What they want to know is an alternative. How can you resolve the issues? How can you bring us forward? How can you bring make our nations great again? What they want is that. But unfortunately, when they saw these governments during the 22 months, they see most of the ministers are not performing their jobs. Even though the ministers right now, I mean, you want to politicalize. For me, if you want to politicalize anything, please do not politicalize people's issues. If you want to get the mentoryships positions, by all means go ahead. But if you are not incompetent in doing my job, you hire some professionals. Like if you are talking about Ministry of Finance and anything, you can just bring some professionals that is capable in performing their jobs, maybe from banking or financial lines, who is the expert and giving data and everything. Bring them in, rebuild the thing. But the problem is they are not hearing. That's why the the young voters started to change to a better nations. This is what my perspective is.
It's interesting, Andrew, because the Malaysia Guinea analysis, on the other hand, the Malaysia Guinea analysis is, this is the results from 7,351, I have it here, polling districts nationwide, that showed that BN and Harapan actually secured victories in over 70% of the polling districts with the oldest voters. And PN did quite bad in this the older voting streams. So, do you think the old voters thought differently? What was the issue there?
Okay, I just don't want to mention about what others. I just mentioned about my past experience when I'll be doing a walkabout and everything. The older generations, they doesn't want to open up the ears to hear what are you trying to explain, what narrative are you bringing in, or what kind of betterments that you will bring in. So, and they are concealed themselves in silos, and they doesn't want to get other opinions. They think that, okay, I have been sorry for the older generations, but I'm not saying all of them, but some of them or most of them, right? Sorry, I apologize first because there is some other generations here. For me, the younger generations are more. Okay, no, I doesn't mean to offend anyone, but and they are, most of them, especially on my area, they are not exposed to social media, So like TikToks, the older generations, I think there is a minority which is using TikToks, and if you're saying Facebook, yes, there's some of it. You're saying Instagram, I think is very low in percentage, But the Chinese, the younger generations, especially they are involved into social medias and everything, and they have that engagement to check. Like you're talking about LCS or whatsoever, they will take the initiative to check whether these things are correct or false. This is what we want.
Do you agree with that, Kasthuri? Especially where you have actually made very big victories in the older voting streams. Do you think that was the case?
I think that the Saluran 5, I go from 4, 5, 6, and that sort of voting streams. I think they have seen government's transition from what was in the past, a government that had been in place for 6 decades, never changed since independence, and then you have a new government in 2018, 22 months, and I think it's unfair to say that the ministers didn't perform well, because remember, for a government to perform well, you need to have a formidable opposition. If the opposition don't do their job, then don't just say that the government didn't do its job, because there has to be check and balance in parliament. So there was an opportunity for the opposition in the 22 months also to be a formidable opposition, but I think I can also say that that was really not up to standard. As far as performance is concerned, I think those in this generation, this Saluran, I will soon be in this Saluran also, I think. It's the Saluran that has seen the pre-2018, maybe even from Reformasi movement. Let's talk about significant historical incidences in Malaysia. We all talk about May 13, I don't want to go there. But let's talk about Reformasi onwards. So Reformasi 1998, onwards to the election, Barisan Alternative. So this is the generation that had seen coalitions come together, break, fail, Pakatan Rakyat come together, break, fail, betrayals, traitors in politics, etc. And then they finally see this is what it is. It's really not as rigid as what we have thought, that no government can be government forever. And no government knows best also. This is also something we've learned only after 2018 or 2008 in some states. So I think this is the generation that understands that this is the role of a federal lawmaker, an MP. This is the role of a state lawmaker. This is the role of a councillor. When in my 2 terms as MP for Batu Kawan, sometimes when you attend events, you do your best to fulfill all the invitations, from gotong royongs to funerals, to cuko jambul, to weddings, to Patto dinners, every festival in Malaysia. We are so blessed with so many holidays and festivals. So you do your best to fulfill this. And at all these events, we have our police force there, PDRM, to ensure their safety, security, etc. And it's more than once that I've heard, not just me, but for my colleagues, the police saying, YB, there was a time, it was so difficult to see the MP, It was like he would come down from heaven like that, and then see all the rakyat and go back, but then you understand that is no longer the case. Voters don't want to see you come down from your throne, because you are wakil rakyat. You represent the people. You must be amongst the people. If not, how else can you bring issues to State Assembly? How can you bring issues to Parliament, Senate, etc.? So I think this is something that the young voters didn't get a chance to experience, or perhaps not enough of storytelling of how far we've come. Malaysia we are a young democracy. I'm excited to see the direction of the country, provided we have adequate political education for all. Not just for young people, but don't forget, it's not just the 18 and only 18. It is the 18 up to 30, 35 who are still and the migratory voters who vote in their states but work elsewhere. So we hope that this message of, change is not bad, and you have to embrace it. If you find that it doesn't fit with the narrative, it's not doing any good for nation building, then you also need to change. And Malaysia must realize that in ASEAN, we cannot be a country that is like holding on to one government in power for so long. I mean, let's face it, Pakatan Harapan won't be government forever. Neither will Perikatan Nasional. We don't know what kind of coalitions we will face in the next GE and the GEs after that. So I think this is... and because there's not enough of this sort of media for the 18-year-olds onwards, they fell back on TikTok. Very smart for example, in this case, PN, to use that platform to spread their campaign, and it has served to be successful.
One more question before I go off the